My grandma left me a diary in her will, and in it she admitted she'd lied about who my real father was. When Grandma Betty died last month, I expected maybe some old jewelry or her recipe books. Instead, the lawyer handed me this thick leather diary with my name written on the front in her shaky handwriting. Inside was a letter dated 3 years ago, right when she first got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Tommy, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and it's finally time you knew the truth about your real father. I've carried this secret for 28 years, and it's been eating me alive. My whole life, she told me my dad was some deadbeat named Rick who ran off the second my mom got pregnant. Mom died in a car accident when I was 5, so Grandma raised me alone in her little house on Maple Street. Whenever I asked about my father, she'd get this disgusted look and say things like, "You're better off without that worthless loser," or "Some men just aren't built to be fathers." But the diary revealed a completely different story that made my stomach drop. Turns out my real father was David Mitchell, Grandma's next-door neighbor for 30 years. The same guy I'd been calling Uncle Dave my entire childhood. The guy who taught me to ride a bike in his driveway, came to every single one of my baseball games, and spent hours helping me with algebra homework at his kitchen table. According to the diary, my mom and Dave had been having a secret love affair for 2 years. He was married to Linda with 2 teenage kids, but he and Mom fell deeply in love. When Mom got pregnant with me, Dave immediately wanted to leave his wife and marry her, but Grandma went ballistic. She threatened to tell everyone in our small town about the affair unless Dave completely cut contact with us forever. She was old-fashioned Catholic and thought divorce was a mortal sin that would destroy both families. She made up the entire story about Rick the deadbeat to protect what she called the family honor. Dave begged her to reconsider, but eventually agreed to stay married under one condition. He had to be allowed to stay in my life somehow, even if he couldn't claim me as his son. So they invented this elaborate cover story. Dave would be the helpful family friend who just happened to live next door. He could watch me grow up, help raise me, and be part of my life without anyone knowing the truth. The diary had dozens of photos I'd never seen before. Pictures of Dave holding me in the hospital right after I was born, a birth certificate copy with his name clearly listed as my biological father, love letters between him and my mom talking about their plans to be together. There were bank statements showing Dave had been secretly putting $500 a month into a college savings account for me since I was 2 years old. He'd paid for my baseball equipment, my school clothes, my car insurance, even my senior trip, all funneled through Grandma, so I'd never suspect anything. The most heartbreaking part was reading about how much the lie tortured him every single day. Grandma wrote detailed entries about Dave crying in her kitchen after family barbecues, devastated that he couldn't tell his own son who he really was. She described Christmas mornings when Dave would show up with expensive presents, staying just long enough to watch me tear open the wrapping paper before making excuses to go home to his other family. How he'd drive past my high school during lunch just to catch a glimpse of me walking across the courtyard. I immediately grabbed my keys and drove straight to Dave's house. He's 68 now, recently retired from the post office, still living in that same blue house next door to where Grandma used to live. When I knocked on his front door holding the diary in my shaking hands, his face went completely pale. "She finally told you," he said quietly. Not a question, just pure acceptance mixed with relief. We sat on his front porch swing for over 3 hours while he filled in every gap in the story. How he'd wanted to tell me the truth literally thousands of times, but had promised Grandma he'd take the secret to his grave. How his wife Linda never suspected anything, but his other 2 kids always wondered why Dad was so unusually attached to the neighbor kid. Then Dave stood up and led me inside his house to a room I'd somehow never seen in 28 years of visits. It was like a shrine to my entire childhood. Every school photo from kindergarten through graduation, every report card, every baseball trophy, every certificate I'd ever received. He'd been secretly documenting my whole life from the sidelines like some kind of undercover father. The absolute craziest part? Linda passed away from breast cancer 2 years ago. Dave and I could have been completely honest then, but Grandma had made him swear to wait until she was dead too. "I couldn't break my promise to her," he said with tears in his eyes, even though it was killing me every day. Last week, Dave went to his lawyer and officially changed his will to list me as his biological son and primary beneficiary. He wants to spend whatever time he has left making up for 28 years of forced lies. His other 2 kids, my half-siblings I guess, are absolutely furious about the whole situation. They're threatening to contest everything and calling me a gold digger. But honestly, I don't care what they think anymore. After almost 3 decades of lies, I finally have my real father back.